Hello and thank you for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, World Bank tells federal government to remove subsidy, reduce CBN debt and increase tax on alcohol to save the economy, says dollar shortage and deficits financing threaten Nigeria's growth. Family of slain OAU MBA students demand arrest of hotel's owner's son as report of autopsy is being awaited. Fighter jets bombed ISWAP tax collectors, assaulting commuters in Kukua, and later on the show, somewhere in the north central Nigeria, a federal university built state-of-the-art hostel, yet can't let students use them. Find out why on Journalist Hangout Weekend Special by Babajide Kolade Otitoju. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Paul Dada. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Let's start on the condolence note. The late Brigadier General Zaman Zakushu and 7 other military officers killed by insurgents during attack in Askira Uba earlier in the month have been laid to rest at Gibson Jalo military cantonment, Jalo, Adamawa State. President Muhammadu Buhari expressed sadness over the demise and gratitude for the gallantry exhibited in defense of the country. In appreciation to their dedicated service to their fatherland and humanity, the state governor, Ahmed Finitri, renamed the popular Lagos Street in Yola after Brigadier General Zakushu. Let's share the story with you.
A solemn ceremony attended by top commanders in the armed forces. Brigadier General Zakushu Zarma is the first army general to be killed in 13 years of the insurgency. He and other soldiers killed were given befitting burials at Gibson Jalo Cantonment, Yola. President Muhammadu Buhari is represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. He describes their death as a tragic loss to the country.
Let me take this opportunity to bring the deepest condolences of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari. The President expressed his sadness over the death of these officers and men, and also expressed his gratitude for the rare display of gallantry which they exhibited in their quest to protect their compatriots in the war against terrorists. The President further observed that this loss is a tragic loss not only to the families of the deceased, but to the country, to the armed forces.
Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri mourns the death of the fallen heroes, particularly General Zakushu, describing this as a big loss to the people of Adamawa. He advocates that the late general be given a posthumous promotion and be immortalized as a mark of honor and appreciation for his service. He also donates 17 million naira to his family.
To leave an enduring landmark for an honored dome to this illustrious son of Adamawa State, I'm also naming a popular street in the state capital after him. On this note, the former Lagos Street off Army Barracks Road, Yola, is hereby named Brigadier General D.K. Zakushu Street. As a child of a soldier who grew up in the barracks, I have a first-hand knowledge of the kind of trauma the immediate family, especially the wife and the children, passed through at the sudden loss of a benefactor. Now more than any other time, the families need our collective prayers and support to navigate this trying moment. As a measure for this support, I'm giving the family of Brigadier Zakushu a token sum of 10 million naira. Another 17 million naira to be shared as follows: 4 million naira for the general who served in my immediate community in Gula before he was posted to Uba, 3 million naira for the lieutenant, 2 million naira each for each of the men of the Nigerian Armed Force. One thing we owe Brigadier General Zulkushi and all officers and men who lost their life in this needless war against the insurgents is a victory over their killers. We owe them a total triumph over the enemies of the Nigerian state.
Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum describes the soldiers as fallen heroes who paid supreme sacrifices to the nation. On his part, the Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya presents national flags and condolence letters to the next of kin of the late heroes. Northeast Nigeria has been rocked by an insurgency that has lasted over a decade. Many have been killed in the conflict and many more displaced.
Indeed, a very painful death, the death of late Brigadier General Zaman Zukushu.
Yes, is the highest ranked officer to be felled by the bullets of insurgents. But this serves, in my view, as a lesson to us as a country. There is no reason in the world for a general to get involved directly in warfare. It's not done. Even at the level of NDA, commanders are told that they are not supposed to be on the front line. You are supposed to run the war from a vantage position, provide direction, not to get directly involved. And you know, it would probably, before this, we probably will have lost the theater commander of Operation Lafia Dole. Remember that video that came out? You know that video that got them to punish General Shegun Adeniyi? It was shot on the front line. Remember that they were saying, look, they fired the RPG testers right there in the war, on the war front. They had the MRAPs had lost their tires. So what if one
had no business there?
He had no business. Then the Sector 2 commander, that's the commander of the other part, because the theater is divided into two. The Sector 2 commander, also a general, was also right there on the war front. And those guys had clearly surrounded our troops and made sure that they could not advance. We had to retreat. So this is a lesson. It's unfortunate that we lost this man, because when he heard that the insurgents had attacked the army base in Askira, he knew the strength of the base, and he got information about the strength of the enemy in terms of the number of gun trucks that they came to that place with. He knew that if he did not take action quickly, they will easily overrun that place, given the number of them that came and the number of gun trucks that they came with. But you don't have to lead the reinforcement to the place. And if in the Nigerian army, generals are encouraging commanding officers to get directly involved in warfare, it has to stop. It has to stop.
I never knew that there was something wrong with that.
Oh, did General Schwarzkopf go to the front line during the Operation Desert Storm? He will never do that. His own duty is to draw up the battle plan. And from where he is, you see, you don't have to be directly there. On the day General Babayo, who is the brigade commander in Damboa, on the day he was receiving the Chief of Army Staff's Special Recognition Award, they were attacking his base. Right there, as they were giving them dinner, he was giving direction to his troops, and they repelled the attack. You don't have to be physically present. When you go to cover election in Anambra, do I follow you there to show that I can walk? No, those encouraging our generals to get to go to the war front, they have to stop it. It's not done. It's wrong. It's unfortunate this has happened. Now, within the camp of the enemy, they will be jubilating that they succeeded in killing a general. We can kill 1 million Boko Haram idiots. None of them, all of them put together, are not worth the life of a general. You know how much it costs to train a general? Or somebody who had been instructor even at the Nigerian School of Infantry. And then this happens. If a general gets killed by mistake or a commander, we can take that, but not to directly lead reinforcement. And on that same day, two generals went to that same scene to show you how dangerous that operation was. But you don't have to be physically present. That is my point. And many of the generals that I've spoken with, they also said the same thing. You don't have to physically be at the war front. Give them direction, tell them what to do, and they will get the job done.
All right, Paul, because this made headline and it was a big one, and we felt that we had a kind of respite in the northeast before now, but these people just came from nowhere, and we now know that, look, there's no respite anywhere.
Exactly. That was my thought when this happened. I said, it's been a while and this kind of thing actually happened. That shows that it's not yet Uhuru, and terrorists will not let up just like that. Well, the general is gone. He paid the supreme sacrifice. It's quite demoralizing when a general, loses his life that way. However, I will still want to commend the man for his bravery. Perhaps he thought that, well, a leader is the one who knows the way. I don't know whether that was the thought in his mind, but like
which is pressure, pressure from
exactly. But again, it's an unconventional thing for generals to do what he did. But he did it, and he's gone. I appreciate the sacrifice and the rewards, the immortalization that is being done. It's quite.
I think we can even do more. But usually we don't do enough for this.
You said something now that it is pressure. That we have times that the chief of army staff will say, okay, I'm relocating from Abuja, the headquarters, I'm going to the heart of Boko Haram to go and lead the battle myself.
You didn't lead any battle. There's no chief of army staff that went to the war front to lead a battle. I say that with a high sense of responsibility.
I used to say that.
I say that he didn't go to the front line.
He didn't go to the front line.
He didn't go. I'm saying that again, and people can hear me. He didn't go to the front line. He can go to the northeast, get an opportunity to talk directly to his commanders on ground. He can brief his commanders, but he never went to the war front. And you will not see a picture of him on the front line. There is a battle going on. You know that what the enemy always does is, once they have launched an attack, they know you will send reinforcement. They go and wait in ambush. That was what happened. So there is no chief of army staff who will put himself through that. No chief of army staff will do that. This current one will not do it. The current one is from Sokoto State. Bandits are killing people in Sokoto State. You don't expect him to, because it's his state, is not happy that they are killing his people, then go to Goroyo and say he wants to go and directly fight bandits. No. General Farouk will not do that. That's not how they were trained at NDA. The pressure must not get to that point that you will now lead a reinforcement. I know there has been a terror to them. It had been a terror to them in that area, just as Babayo had been a terror to them in Damboa. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to directly get involved, go to the front line, because they'll be happy to take out a commander.
Yeah, they'll be joining that.
Our wars are not just one on the battlefield. You know, it's from even the think tank strategy. Yes.
All right, moving on now. The recent upsurge in banditry and kidnapping on the Abuja-Kaduna highway is getting unbearable. The experience of travelers plying the routes can best be described as hellish. In a viral video, travelers were seen stranded for hours at the Regina axis of the highway while bandits operated unchecked. Let's share this video with you. Last week I saw this video and I was like, this particular road, we've always spotted, we've known that, look, this road is dangerous, and that is what has led to the how will I call it, upsurge in the number of passengers that will go travel.
I think this is even a different video, because that video you see people narrating what they are going through and all that.
So people prefer to take the train from Abuja to Kaduna and Kaduna back. All the VIPs, they go through this train. They've abandoned this road. It's not as if this road is bad, but because of the security situation on this road, they've effectively abandoned the road. What is the big deal about this road? Why can't we police this road effectively?
The bandits who operate on that highway, they don't live in the area. They live far away. So even if you police the highway, you cannot police it for 24 hours. They will wait for some time when they can see that, okay, in this particular area, there is no presence of security agents. Then they will now suddenly come out and start robbing people. From my experience, there is between this Regina, that video that we saw, the one we are talking about, not the one that we just saw. That video was shot in Regina. So between Regina and Krumikare, there is a dense forest. That dense forest can take you all the way to Kachia, which is about 60 kilometers. And on both sides, once you get to that axis, that point that I'm talking about, there is thick forest on both sides. Bandits thrive on forest. Where your community is not heavily forested, you are not likely to be suffering from bandits. What they want is a situation in which they can find where to hide people, and that is what is happening. The people who use this road, they know that that whole area right up to Serikin Power, because of the forest, that's the most dangerous part of that highway. All that we need to do is activate our intelligence gathering capability. If security agents need to blend with residents of those communities, let's do it so that we can get more information about these guys before they operate. We'll stop them. We've seen people get on that road and they easily get kidnapped. That's why once people can't use the trains, it's a problem. Even security agents, police, generals, they prefer to enter the train. Their convoy will go and wait for them at the terminal, because nobody wants to be kidnapped. That's what we are seeing. And for some time, it seems like those guys had left that place alone. But in the last 2 weeks, we've seen a return to the Abuja highway, and it's very, very embarrassing that a place that is not far from the seat of power could be coming under unremitting attack by bandits.
There was a time I had to complain to the first PRO about the security presence between Lagos, Djibouti, or down to Asaba, down to the east. The number of checkpoints that we counted. It was going to like 400 from Lagos to Ijebu-Ode, from Ijebu-Ode to Ore. And then I complained bitterly to him that what's happening? And we told that they've commercialized that particular route. So what is happening in the stretch of Abuja, Kaduna, that we can't have strong presence that will be there 247? Because these people, they have like...
even when you have strong presence, I think we discussed this the last time I came here also. That was on, I think, on Monday, that we discussed this issue of this one happened after the first one that happened, and the truth of the matter is, even if you put checkpoints everywhere, they will still look for a spot where there is no security presence. That's the truth of the matter. What I think we should do is to be more proactive. Let's check these things before they happen, and where we even have to, the police have to confront them. There is something we need to get. We need to strengthen the capacity of our police. The one that is happening in Niger State, the SSG said something. He said these bandits will come in with maybe 200 motorcycles and all of that, and they have rounds of ammunition in their bags, while police have like 4 to 10 rounds of ammunition. So they are even stronger than the police when it comes to when it comes to the weapons they have. So we have to increase the capacity of our law enforcement agencies and the capacity to gather intelligence. It's very, very important.
As usual, the president has read the riot acts again, that that place should be fortified and in a reactionary way. But I'm sure somebody died. I'm sure they would have killed people.
No, that video that you are seeing was when the governorship candidate from Zamfara was killed, because his truck, I mean his SUV was identified inside the bush, and then some other people were also kidnapped. The other video happened even after that one. So you now wonder what is going on. If this happened and they took a life, they shot a prominent person, and they took away many people, and then they were back. So the people now refuse to advance. Once they got information that they were operating in Regina, they just decided to stay where they are, and it caused a long hold up. And when they were asking, they said no, that they were asking them, they said about the security, they said that those guys, once they heard that these guys had come, that they left. Which brings me to the point that I made. If you do not have enough rounds of ammunition, you are looking at what you have. You are thinking that the enemy probably has more. And the weapon that you are carrying is probably the same as that of the enemy. It is the person who has more rounds that will most likely prevail. Yeah. So there are times when our troops, our policemen simply retreat. They say who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. Yeah. They simply will retreat, then wait for reinforcement. When reinforcement now comes, they will overwhelm the enemy and reclaim their position. So this is a common military strategy to withdraw when you can see that the enemy appears to have superior firepower. So if those guys were coming to that scene and you have maybe just 3 policemen and they were coming with about 100, you know it makes no sense to wait. You have to vote with your feet so that you can fight another day.
I'm moving on now. That our economy continues to be guided by external forces like international oil markets and World Bank indicates that all is not well with our country economically. The World Bank has called on the federal government to remove fuel subsidy, reduce its indebtedness to the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and increase tax on certain items like alcohol as a way of boosting the economy. In its November 2021 Nigeria Development Update, the World Bank raised its 2021 and 2022 economic growth forecasts for Nigeria to 2.7 and 2.8%. The Global Bank said economic growth in Nigeria is being threatened by macroeconomic challenges like dollar shortage, petrol subsidy, and the fiscal deficit financing by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Bajiri, when we want to start with this now, and we look at the vexed issue of fuel subsidy, it has been there for years, but successive administration, we've been denying over it, and we've refused to deregulate the downstream sector fully, and we have refused to remove the control of government from always. They always have to subsidize how much they get the landing cost, and I was told that it's about, in this West Africa sub-region, it's about the cheapest.
Yes.
And that is really hurting us.
It is. For me, my concern is even the corruption that goes with this subsidy thing. Cases are in court, or people claim that
just like
they brought PMS into our country. They didn't bring Jack, and the cases are in court. I think there was even one of them was jailed sometime, maybe early last year or something. So subsidy has helped many people to fatten their pockets.
Made them billionaires.
You know, so it's not a strange thing to have subsidy. Many countries of the world subsidize products, produce and all that, you know, to make life more meaningful for their people. But our own has been an opportunity for people to feather their nests, to make themselves richer at the expense of the state. And look at a country like Nigeria. We can hardly pay our bills. There are some things that many of us didn't know were happening, that we have now seen clearly were actually happening. For example, the Minister of Finance said that they had to borrow money to pay salaries. I didn't know that it was that bad. When I saw the story, I said, what's going on? You mean we were borrowing money from the CBN to pay salaries? And that's what the World Bank is complaining about, that look, that we continue to take, faced with widening budget deficit. Policy makers have increasingly turned to costly CBN overdrafts that are not properly integrated into the fiscal accounts. We should be able to eat what we kill. We must generate enough revenue. The revenue that we generate will enable us to pay our bills. We can't keep taking loans like a drunken sailor. We can't continue along that path, because when you continue to take loans, it also means that the quantum of money that you set aside for debt servicing will be so huge that you will not be able to focus on critical sectors and use that money to intervene in critical sectors. That is the point. People who encourage taking loans here and there, they don't know that every action has consequences. The more loan you take, the more money you spend on debt servicing. And all of these loans are denominated in foreign currency. So we just have to find a way. And if we can save 1.8 trillion every year from scrapping subsidy, this money, there's a lot that this money can do.
Exactly.
For example, look at the governors first. The governors are in support of removal of subsidy because they know that will be about 200 billion added to the distributable revenue from FAC that they all share at the end of every month. So that's more money for them. There are months that we've had some bad months in this country that states shared less than $400 billion. I've seen some months like that, especially when we were in recession. Just about 300 plus was what all of them shared. Now,
some will leave the table longer.
Yes, now that they will be entitled to about 200 billion extra, this will go a long way. We just have to tell ourselves that how much longer. The president, the Minister of Finance, said, this thing is not sustainable. I agree that it's not sustainable, but before we decide to remove subsidy, I think that they need to engage with labor to look at palliative measures that can happen, maybe buying of buses like this, the ones we have in Lagos. What do they call them? BRT buses,
yeah.
at least that will help reduce the pressure on commuters. Because if we leave it simply to this NURTW people, the kind of money they will ask for from people just to move from point A to point B will be too huge. But if government floods the states with commuter buses, it can help bring down the
what's your summary of this?
Yes, like every other person who understands what is going on, nobody is going to say that subsidy should remain. A subsidy should be sustained. It does not make sense. Like he said, 1.8 trillion, what it can do, how it can fund critical infrastructure. But my worry, as I was coming, I was thinking about it. My worry, I have two worries. I just hope that we are getting the timing right. Although you can also say, when are we going to have the best time to do it? Which is why
there's no best time.
There's no best time because you keep postponing the problem is maybe certain things we should have put in place, but it's not too late. It talked about buses. By now, we should have had, in a place like Lagos, we should have had viable alternative means of transportation. We should have had better roads. For example, I know that, we talk about roads. We always think of federal government. How many federal government roads do we have? The federal government roads are just roads linking states. Most of the roads in this country are owned by state governments and local governments. And people spend more time on these roads. For example, when I say bring more buses, if you increase vehicular density on roads, and then you cause probably more traffic hold up. But again, that is what we have to do. Bring in roads. Then again, at this time, we should also be thinking of the power sector. Because if you remove subsidy, of course, we know that this subsidy is benefiting the rich. That most poor people don't even use cars, but they travel. They use commercial buses. And but the place you were spending probably 100 naira to get to, and they tell you it's 500 naira now because of price, the rise in the price of PMS per liter. Of course, you know that you have become poorer. Services, goods, movement of goods and services will cost more. That is why there should be palliatives. Now, my second worry.
Let me just hold you on there. I have joining us via Zoom for more discussion on this is economist Muda Yusuf. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Yes, Muda, can you please tell us about the effects the removal of subsidy is going to be? Because we've been dilly-dallying, successive administration, they've told us, they've enlightened Nigerians that look, it's not in our own good that this subsidy, government should continue subsidizing PMS for us. We want to know finally if they are going to go about it next year, that what will be those effects?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, a number of effects. But first, let me situate it within the context of the World Bank report that GD alluded to. The World Bank was raising issues about very, very important reforms that needs to take place. These things are not new. Sometimes I even prefer that the government responds more to issues raised internally than issues raised by the IMF or the World Bank. Because there is this general perception that anything that comes from either the IMF or the World Bank is anti-people, is poisonous, is toxic, and that kind of thing. And that can create a whole lot of issues for this kind of conversation. But having said that, I think the critical issues that were raised in terms of reforms were reforms around the foreign exchange policy, which has been creating a whole lot of issues for investors, whether domestic or foreign, reforms around what was described as fiscal risks, that the risk to the fiscal environment, and the subsidy thing was highlighted as a major fiscal risk for government. Coming to the subsidy thing, we see it has become an emotive issue. It has become an issue that not many people want to even listen to the facts. There's so much sentiments, there's so much emotions that are being whipped here and there. That is almost, overshadowing or, obscuring the realities or the real issues in the discussion. Now, this subsidy, we have been on it for quite a while. And one of the major challenges that we have had with subsidy is that it has blocked investment into the petroleum downstream sector. And it has blocked investment because you cannot have a sector where it is the government that will be dictating the price of your product. And that is what has happened over the last 2 decades. And that is why we are stuck with government-owned refineries. And you know what it is when you have such an important enterprise being managed by bureaucrats and being managed by politicians. That is what has put us in this mess. Because the situation wouldn't have been as bad as this if we are refining our own petroleum products domestically. And we have the capacity to do that if only we have the right policy environment. So the fact that we have this subsidy regime, highly regulated situation, has prevented investors from coming to the sector. Those who were there before, some of them have exited because it is just not sustainable. So I think one major benefit that this will bring is more private investment into the petroleum downstream. And if you have more private investment, we scale up the domestic refining capacity. Look at what private investors are doing in telecoms. Imagine the government had insisted that all of us should still be stuck with Nitel. What are you going to be saying today? Look at the amount of jobs that have been created. Look at the value they have brought into the economy. Look at the revenue that have been that they are paying in form of taxes and all of that. So the thing we expect to see with this is a growth in private investment in the petroleum downstream sector. Of course, there's also the effect on our foreign reserves. Now we are being told that we are consuming 60 million liters of PMS per day. You can see how humongous that is. And all of these things are gulping foreign exchange. We are struggling with the exchange rate and all, but the biggest import bill we have today is the importation of petroleum products because all the refineries have collapsed. And this is putting a lot of pressure on our reserves. It's making it difficult for the central bank to fund the foreign exchange market. That is also part of the issues that we are having. Then there is the revenue effect. We are spending anywhere between 1.5 to 2 trillion. In fact, some people are estimating that by the end of the year, we may be talking about 3 trillion. In an economy where we are struggling to fund education, in an economy where we are struggling to fund our health services, in an economy where we are struggling to fund our roads, to fund even security agencies. We just have some conversation around security. Funding security is also an issue, and all of these things has to do with funding. So the point I'm saying here is about what exactly should be our priorities. So when I see people who are anti-subsidy forces, right, the labor union, I wonder whether they are thinking about the sustainability of this economy or the sustainability of this country as a country, rather than riding on the wave of popularity, popular opinion, and all of that. And leadership is not a popularity contest. So I'm hoping that the labor leaders and some civil society we also see reason with government. We can have discussions as to how to manage the savings, how to manage finances. But we should not continue to encourage or perpetuate a regime that has become a platform for corruption, a platform for distortions, a platform that is making it difficult for private capital to come into the sector. And it's not a very important sector. If the policies were right, Nigeria should be the one supply almost half of Africa petroleum products, not crude, refined petroleum products. Imagine the impact that will have on jobs, on foreign exchange, on foreign reserves, and on the growth of the economy. So these are some of the things that we need. Of course, employment. Then we have talked about smuggling. In many of the West African countries now, petrol is selling for over $400 naira per liter equivalent. Now we are selling at 165. So it's a no-brainer that the bulk of all of these things will be going to all of these countries. We are the one feeding them with PMS. That is why some neighboring communities and states, they are already running out of, they are having a crisis of fuel now, because all the fuel that goes to those states are going to the neighboring countries, because the incentive to do that is so high. But I must admit that there are social implications in terms of the likely inflationary effect that will have. There are also political implications. I'm talking about the political cost of taking this decision.
The World Bank also wants us to increase taxes on luxury items, cigarettes, alcohol, and what it called sugary drinks. We know that we have issues with revenue. Do you think fresh taxes are the way to go?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. What the World Bank was talking about was about imposing excise tax, excise duty. You impose excise duty on things that are produced domestically. And this time they are talking about carbonated drinks. I don't think it's a good thing to do at this time. Because the manufacturing sector, they are going through a lot already. And already we have excise duty on cigarettes, on some luxury items, on alcohol. We already have excise duty on that. Now the whole idea now is to move it to soft, what we call soft drinks. I don't think that should happen now, because it will be too much.
Mr. Yusuf, let me just pause you there. We have to take this breather. When we come back, we'll discuss more. Please just hold on. Thank you for staying with us. It's Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and we still have economics Muda Yusuf with us, and we are looking at the regulation of the downstream sector and the removal of subsidy proposed for year 2020 by the federal government of Nigeria. So before we went on break, you were explaining something, Mr. Yusuf.
Yes, I was talking about the issue of excise duty that is being proposed by the World Bank. Even before now, the finance minister had hinted that they are going to impose excise duty on carbonated drinks. For me, I don't think that is a good thing to do, given the fact that excise duty is a tax imposed on things that are produced domestically. So the point I was making is that the manufacturing sector in this economy are going through a lot already. This is not a time to impose additional burden on them. They have enough problems with foreign exchange. They have enough issues at the ports. They have enough problems with transportation and logistics. They have enough problems with even interest rate and the rest of them. So this is not the time to now impose additional tax on anything that is manufacturing. Already, maybe for health reasons, there's already excise duty on cigarettes, on alcoholic drinks, on spirits and all of that. Let's keep it at that. Because by the time we impose additional tax on all these soft drinks, it will not only stop at the manufacturers. All the SMEs, micro enterprises, all these people that sell soft drinks on the streets, the prices will go up. And what margin are they making? It will further erode the margin, and it will affect a whole lot of them, because it's a very wide chain of distribution and marketing. All of them will be affected. So I think it is better to stick with all these major reforms and leave the issue of excise duty alone. Of course, just as I said, there will be some social effects. Prices are likely to increase. The government is already talking about 5,000 naira palliatives and so. We can have conversations around that. There are already discussions as to, the credibility of the data, how inclusive it is, how credible. There can be discussions around that. But the fundamental issue of the reform is something that we need to quickly deal with, and deal with honestly, rather than, grandstanding or trying to be popular or trying to paint the government in a bad light. This is not sustainable. When we run an economy, you don't run an economy only for today. You also think of future generation. What are we going to show to future generation that we have done with our oil money? There is no infrastructure. The hospitals are nothing to, Yes.
I want to ask you, what do you feel, what do you make of the proposed 5,000 naira to be given to 40 million Nigerians as a kind of palliative?
First of all, it's a transitional thing. It's something to help the government to transition from the current situation to the next. And the whole idea is to give something that will have immediate impact. Of course, I've had argument around it's better to do rules, and that may not give immediate impact to somebody who is hungry or somebody that is poor. So if you have that, and again, if you have a credible data, because again, it's about the quality of the database that will be used. It is not a bad idea to give a cash transfer to those the vulnerable segments of the society, but there has to be engagement. Government has to engage with labor, they have to engage with civil society on the modalities and strategies to deliver this, and we can even go beyond that. We can look at our trade policy. What are the areas in which you can reduce some tariffs? So that some of these essential things that the common people use, you can scrap tariff from them, so their prices can go down. Yeah. Some of these companies that produce staple foods, we can engage them. What can we do for you to bring down the cost of some of these staple foods? These are things that can be done so that the poor people will not feel the pain too much. So these are the things. I only hope that government will have the political will to do this. Because this is close.
Thank you so much for your intervention.
Close to the election.
Thank you so much for your intervention, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Thank you so much for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Wow, today.
Yeah.
Very comprehensive.
Yes, and one final thing he said was that he hoped that government will have the political will because elections are coming. Nobody wants to walk into a climate of hate with the elections just around the corner. There was a friend of mine who is an APC supporter who was saying that he would prefer the incoming administration to remove subsidy. I said it's clear why you are saying this, because you think that if the government goes ahead, it may not be able to win the next election because people will be angry and all that. But you think that the next government, of course, in your view, that next government should still be an APC-led government. So if the APC government, the new government does it, is the same fear that you are expressing that will reign at that time. So when there's a big decision to take, somebody must just find the courage to take that big decision.
The country will be going down.
Yes. They will have borrowing money from CBN to pay salaries. I mean, if it wasn't the finance ministers that said it, I would not have believed that that happened. Some people don't know.
Even allege that still we're printing money.
Yes. It's the manner he said it that got people worried. Otherwise, even in so-called Sena climes, they print money. But our people get emotional about everything. So you cannot keep postponing this, keep hoping that this goes. It will not go away. You will not find the money that you need to fix this, to fix that. When you are returning 200 billion every month.
Exactly.
A lot of...
To just stabilize.
The countries around us is our fuel that they are using. Just as you said. Up to Cameroon. If you Google it, there was a big story that I read about massive smuggling of Nigerian petrol from Adamawa and some states of the northeast.
Because it's very lucrative.
Yes, it's more cheaper here than in their country. So they can kill to bring in Nigerian petrol into Cameroon. So this is the thing. We are subsidizing smuggling and subsidizing the fat cats.
However, we must carry labor along, because labor, if I want to be the devil's advocate, labor is thinking about the immediate suffering that it can be that can happen as a result of
national association of Nigerian students.
Exactly, they should be carried along because it will not be the interest of our economy if they ground this country with strike. You know, so they must be carried along before this is done. Yes.
Okay. Now, moving on now. The police is now in the eye of the storm over credibility issue regarding the case of the murdered Masters of Business Administration MBA student of Obafemi Awolowo University, Timothy Oludari Adegoke, at Hilton Hotel in Ile-Ife, Osun State. The family of the deceased, through their lawyer, Kayode Ajulo, are asking questions. They have urged the Nigerian police to declare Rahim Adedoyin, the son of the owner of the hotel, Rahim Adedoyin, wanted for his alleged role in the murder case. This is when I read that story, particularly the guy coming from Abuja, left his family, still communicated with his wife. By the time he got to the airport, spoke with his wife, and the next day, I don't know, for whatever. Now, let's say, I'm just putting it like this. Anything that happened to him in his room, let's say he died a natural death, but what is the business of anybody going to bury him in a hurry? Exactly.
That makes everything so suspect. You know, in this country, we need to value lives. We need to value lives. People can't just die for nothing. And then we are doing the investigation. We already, the way the police is going about it, it's looking like, well, people are beginning to lose confidence in the police. For example, how would a suspect be doing an audio recording?
No, I listened to that audio recording.
Exactly. How would he be doing an audio recording?
Carefully, it took his time.
He said he did it
before his arrest. But I know that police said before they will probe it. But so anyway, the truth of the matter is that justice must be done. The investigation must be done very, very clearly. Why would you? Okay, if you didn't kill the person, let's say the person died in the hotel room. I mean, you are running that facility, that business, and then somebody died in the room, and then the next thing is you organize for the burial. Is he a, what do you call them again? Is it a John Doe? He has family. You didn't do anything to him. So that already makes you a suspect.
I know, that's why they're in custody now.
Exactly, and the investigation should be well done, and let's see how it goes.
Because the version of this story is saying the son of the owner of the hotel was actually around, and maybe it might be culpable. But a lot of people are even saying that, look, they went to the website of their school, and every video that his son was spotted that has been taken down. Now a lot of people will say, where is this Rahim Adedoyin?
Well, Rahman, not Rahim is the father.
Sorry,
all that we can do is appeal to the police to do a diligent work.
To bungle it.
Let the police make us proud. I believe that the Nigerian police is capable of doing a good job. Let Nigerians be able to say, look, this is our police, we are proud of this police. You understand? The autopsy has been done. We don't know whether this was murder. The autopsy will show us if it was murder. Those saying murder, they have no evidence. It is the autopsy that will determine how he died. We've seen people die in their sleep inside hotel. I lost a friend in Borno State. A former editor with yes, you know, he died in his sleep. I think he tripped. It must have been a case of cardiac arrest. Now, but when someone loses his life inside your facility, inside your hotel, you have no right to dispose of the remains of the person.
You are saying
it's not the first time that people will die. You know, this as a tabloid editor in those days, we used to get a lot of those reports. You know, maybe somebody brought a woman, you know, into an hotel, and the man died. They will say, oh, after sex romp, Maybe they had not even had sex when it happened. This cardiac arrest, you can just push somebody this way. Just push somebody and it will fall. We've seen even individuals exchanging words. One tried to raise their hands and then they went down. Cardiac arrest. Because a lot of our people don't even check their blood health status and all that. So you have blood pressure issues, you are not bothered about it. Even you don't care about your diet. There are things that you shouldn't eat. You know. So I'm not saying, I'm not foreclosing any possibility. And I don't want to come here and say certain things that the autopsy will not validate. It will make me look stupid at the end of the day, because this is an autopsy that all stakeholders were present, from the family, the police and all that. So before everyone, they did it. So whatever report, whatever the findings of, whatever constitutes the findings of the medical personnel that handled the autopsy, we know that it has to be the truth, because it was done in the presence of other stakeholders critical to the resolution of this matter. Now, what the police has to establish is, what is the motive behind disposing of someone's remains? Some people have said, oh, that certain organs from his body were taken away.
The autopsy
will show us. You know, we as journalists, we are not supposed to be rumor mongers. Let the autopsy show whether indeed a cut his throat or all of those things that were but it is bad enough that somebody dies in an hotel, instead of calling the police to say, look, we just opened the door, this guy didn't come out on time, we opened the door and found that he had died. Instead of doing that, you then found a way to dispose his remains. I mean, it's not done. Whichever way,
automatically,
yes, it raises the suspicion of foul play. You know, and
against the owner,
even
that alone is an offense.
Of course, no matter the outcome of the autopsy, somebody has got to explain
has to answer
what
for it.
business they had disposing the remains of an hotel guest illegally. And you know, it reminds me of what happened, the ST soap.
Okay.
You know, the owner of ST soap that time was also involved in something like this. The man was accused of ritual killing. No one is saying this one is a case of ritual killing, but that was what happened back then. We were at the news magazine. We did the story. You know, invariably ST is dead. The guy who was who killed the kid, the school kid, has been sentenced to death. One Ghanaian who was involved ran away, but in the end, ST died a few years back. So even that matter, we did not really get to the root of that matter. Or matters like this are sometimes complicated for our police to handle. I don't know why. I'm monitoring even Chidima's matter. You know, there was
even subsequent
that one too. That one, we are desperate to see the police cover itself in glory. We want to see the police. We want to be patient with the police in the hope that the police will do a very good, a very decent job, because that's the only way that Nigerians can have faith in their police.
I have a lawyer, Tony. Oh, we lost connection with Tony. Okay, we'll try to get in touch with Tony Daniel, a lawyer that will join us. Ultimately, when you look at things like this, because this is like hotel with an international franchise, a lot of people will feel that, look, that place should be safe enough for anybody to go, and he left his wife, left his aged parent, and I don't know, I'm so confused.
Absolutely. If it was a brothel, we would say, okay, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
We probably would even say maybe the man went to patronize. Maybe we could bring up patronize commercial sex, or people start bringing all sorts of things. But this is,
if people die easily and their corpses get disposed flippantly at protest, nobody will be going to protest.
I'm telling you.
So protests are among places that are people patronize.
Exactly. Now, my question is this: if truly this Ramon, the son of the Mr. Dr. Adedoyin, both of them are doctors, also Dr. Ramon, if actually he is at large and he ran away, why?
They must get him.
They must get him. If actually he ran away,
if they want to get him, they get him.
Yes, they must get him. He must come to. He must. There are questions
they
for
need to
him
ask him questions
to answer. Why would you run again? Let's not speculate too much because we're not there. And so why would you
I have
run?
the lawyer now. Tony Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, can you shed light into this? The death of this Timothy Oluwadare Adegoke and at Hilton Hotel in Ile-Ife. What are the complexity involved?
Yes, like you rightly said, we've been hearing different versions of the matter. And in a criminal palace, even if you are caught red-handed, the law presumes that you are innocent until your guilt is established by a court of competent jurisdiction. But having said that, and without prejudice to the investigation the police is presently conducting into that matter, I want to say that there are certain facts that have not been controverted or that all rumor or information seem to have agreed on. One, that Timothy, that is the disease, lodged in that hotel on the 5th of November. On the 6th, he was declared wanted. On the 7th, there was denial that he didn't lodge there. Subsequently, the hotel staff admitted that he lodged there when some money that was paid was transferred to a private account. There is no doubt that the owner of the hotel is the popular Chief Adedoyin, and the disease was assumed from the ground. That means he was buried. Naturally, the people that buried him are likely to be the people from the hotel. A murder case, I think, to some extent, has been established. And then the family don't need to fold their hands. While I appreciate what the lawyer is their family lawyer is trying to do, let me quickly advise that there is no grandstanding here. They have a right to ask for their own autopsy. They have a right to bring their own doctor to investigate the body of the disease. So you don't need to leave it to the police alone. And then the police, we know that they are handicapped in terms of logistics and expertise in certain areas. The Inspector General of Police will say, take action. You forget that to take action, you need vehicles, you need weapons, you need all sorts of things, you need intelligence, you need to also sometimes pay for information. So it's unfortunate. The death was too gruesome, and it's really painful. You know, looking at it sentimentally, you can imagine what the widow will be going through. But again, this brings me to the issue of the private investigation that we've always been talking about in this country. You know, so whenever there is a big VIP involved in a criminal matter, no matter how serious it is, there is this fear on the part of the public that the police is likely to compromise. But sometimes when the facts are so glaring, it will be difficult to compromise. How will you compromise? Will you say that somebody did not die? Will you say the person did not die in the hotel? Was he killed and brought to the hotel? If he died in the hotel, the doctrine of last seen, who are the people that last saw him? They are the primary suspects. And the owner of the hotel is also a suspect. I don't know, because in criminal matter, there's nothing like vicarious liability where you say an agent is guilty of what the principal has done. If there's evidence to connect in any way, the owner of the hotel to the incident, then he will be, indicted. But if there is no evidence, if it is just that he's the owner of the hotel, that is not enough in a criminal matter. It's not enough. If his manager goes to kill and he's not aware, he's not involved, he didn't send the manager goes for it. That's but if there's anything to show, like I'm hearing rumor that the son was involved in the burial of the disease, without making a case for, I'm just trying to play a balanced and objective analysis of the issues, please. So my position should not be misconstrued. But is the son working in the hotel, and was it there when the disease died or was
Tony? Tony, let me ask you this question: why is it that in our country murder cases are so difficult to crack? There are so many unsolved murders. Because the Bola Ige murder is just an example. Why is this so difficult in our country to get to the root of murders?
I will give you another example, and I've been almost the only right activist talking about this. A serving commissioner of police was killed in Enugu. He was commissioner of police SFU. He was transferred to Kwara State. He was traced to his hometown and he was assassinated. Nobody has been arrested up till now. Now, the problem is, one, interest. If the government is interested in getting to the root of the matter, I am telling you, they will get there. They will make provision for logistics and all that. Then you will ask yourself, just like you rightly said, Bola Ige is serving Attorney General of the Federation. Up till now, we've not been able to get any headway as to the persons responsible for the assassination of Bola Ige. The problem we have is that the Inspector General of the Police, every successive Inspector General of the Police continually pay lip services to upgrading the police. I appreciate the limits of the police. They are least paid. You compare the salary of police to even civil defense. The civil defense receives higher. And then the police, the money that provided, little money, don't get to the divisions, to do their job. They have to beg complainants and suspects to get money to even buy the papers to write statements. It's as bad as that. But if you watch when Nigerian police go outside the country for peacekeeping, they excel. Because where you work with almost nothing and you have everything available, you perform. So it will take a sincere president to stand his ground. Look at the EndSARS. I don't want to go into the report of the inquiry. Not too comfortable with the fact that they didn't take note of the sufferings of the police and what the police suffered during that incident. I saw videos of how policemen were being kicked too and all that. Anyway, having said all this, the president promised during EndSARS that he was going to upgrade police welfare conditions, salaries, and all that. But nothing has happened up till now, So they have their limits. So if we establish, look at the EFCC, they perform very well because they have the wherewithal, they have the logistics, they have the vehicles. They don't need to wait for your own money to investigate you. They have the access to go to the bank and check your account. Get a court order easily. They have the lawyers. But the Nigerian police, that is supposed to be the mother of civil security outfits in the country, they are underfunded, they are malnourished, they don't have logistics. So they have a lot of limits in investigating, So if we roll out the private investigation law properly, that we allow private persons to investigate, you will see that though it might be expensive to get them to investigate, but they will perform very well because they will be able to gather intelligence, they'll be able to get to root of matters, they'll be able to find out the truth. They are going to be working hand in hand with the police, so which means if they are likely to provide the logistics that will enable the police aid them in their private investigation. So that is, I think, the problem we have with the Nigerian police. But I believe very strongly that it's better. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your contribution.
So
probably this is an ongoing issue, and we're going to stay on it because the Chidima case actually now with interest
it's getting more interesting. Yes,
it's getting more interesting.
Especially with the testimony of the
laptop.
Yes, who said that
how much the laptop was sold and everything, how the laptop was sold, and days after.
Yes, and she made sure that the transaction was done via the bank. So she actually transferred from money from her account into the guy's account, which leaves a trail.
Yes.
When you go through the bank, it leaves a trail. So the guy said, look, when they buy things like that,
they have
made sure,
procedures.
yes, you fill a form, and then at the end of the day, they can have evidence that, look, it was from you that we bought it. And when he presented his case, they didn't have to lock him up and all that.
Yes. Yeah. So because gradually now they are nailing.
People are seeing, evidence now. Because initially there were people who were saying all kinds of nasty things, especially about the dead, trying to blame the dead for what happened. But we are seeing now that those guys appear to be working together. Because how do you go to dispose the man's laptop and you claim that that the laptop was given to you as a gift?
When he even had his passport.
Yes.
So the mother of this.
That's why sometimes patients, people they were attacking the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, accusing him of trying to compromise the matter. But we have not seen any evidence that Kim Odumosu is trying to compromise this matter. Rather, we are now seeing that some very interesting revelations.
Timothy Odudari Adegoke to not be swept under the carpet for any reason, because a lot of people will say, oh, the man behind this thing, as in the owner of the hotel, is rich, and with the rich people you can know with Nigerian police.
This is why the police must do their own work very well. Again, we've seen very serious murder cases that turned out to be the accused person being allowed to go. Sometimes it's not because the court is convinced that the defendant is innocent. It is because the prosecution has not proved this case beyond reasonable doubt. And it is better to let the guilty go free than to punish the innocent. So
we are death penalties.
Exactly. So that's why we are urging the police to do a very thorough job.
Unravel the mystery behind.
Exactly.
Okay. Now moving on now. To rid Nigeria of insurgency and other insecurity ravaging the country, they must be destroyed, roots and stems. The right direction to go on, this is to go after the sponsors and arrowheads. To this end, the Air Task Force of Operation Hiding Kai has eliminated tax collectors of the Islamic State of West Africa Province, ISWAP, in Kukawa local government area of Borno State. The tax collector, who always moved in groups, were sighted and targeted at different locations while mounting roadblocks to collect taxes and levies from commuters and merchants in the town. Judy, this is very funny.
That's what has been happening for some time.
That's
exactly in Borno North. That whole area, that's Kukawa local government. That's where you have Baga, Cross, Kawa.
Now let me first of all ask you, because the Minister of Information was quoted as saying that the fact that they collect tax in these areas, that doesn't mean
they were referring to bandits. He was referring to bandits. He was referring to bandits in that.
Okay, not
not Boko Haram.
Boko Haram guys. Okay.
Anyone who says Boko Haram does not occupy any part of Nigeria is extremely dishonest. I've not seen a Nigerian soldier who will stand before me, a soldier operating in the northeast, who will stand before me and tell me Boko Haram does not occupy any Nigerian territory. No, they don't do that. The army will not do that. There are things that we say simply for political reasons. But the enemy that can move with 20 gun trucks at a point, the enemy that has MRAP that is stole from Nigerian troops, that is moving around with APC. Did you see the APC of Boko Haram that were bombed after the attack in Askira? Yes, they will take it from us. Where do they keep those things if they don't have, if they don't occupy territories? No one knows. You see,
they would transport to the APC.
They need
down to where
you, before you can even launch an operation, you will have your meeting. We've been killing them. We've been using air power to kill them during their meetings. They've eliminated a lot of them while doing meetings. They are doing meetings in places that they are in control of. And it's not that controlling a territory is not like it started today. No. Look at the Timbuktu Triangle. The army will take Timbuktu Triangle today because we do not have enough troops to occupy every area that we capture. Those guys will be back there. And then they do their best to keep that place. So this is the thing. In Kukawa local government, many of those communities are not even manned. I mean, as in security forces are not manning many of the communities there. I've talked about Abadam local government, where you have Malam Fatori. More than 130 communities, there's not one where people are living in. The people have fled to Niger Republic. Those who did not flee to Niger Republic, they are probably in Maiduguri, or they are IDPs in Monguno. So this is the thing. Now, in those places, what ISWAP does is they encourage you to stay and farm. And they will tell you, if you pay your taxes to us, we will not harm you. We've shown pictures before of them distributing money to people.
Yes.
That can only happen in places that they are holding. Let's be commonsensical about these things. If you are not in control of an area, can you encourage farming there to the point that you are even giving people, they are even distributing bags of rice to people. You saw the pictures. You know,
giving out loans.
Exactly.
all that we need to do is, the language that they understand is this force. Let us, you see them, this is ISWAP in Borno North.
Young children.
They want people to love them. Do you know that
when they grow up
in Niger State now, because Boko Haram is occupying territories in Niger State, they are beginning to do this kind of thing in Niger. They are preaching to people. They are telling people, look, we don't constitute any threat to you.
These children grew up indoctrinated.
Believing that, see, where there is no government presence, they will see these people as the government. They will think they don't need the government, that these are the people that they need. You can imagine if all that you need, they are providing. They are not stopping you from farming. You are farming, you see lush green vegetation and all that in those areas. The people are farming. There's nothing, that's what they want. To give people the impression that they are an alternative to the government, that they are better than government. That's the impression that they want to create in the hearts of people. And you keep asking, for some of my friends in the Northeast, we keep asking that how, after all these years, with the way we are killing them, these people, is like, what's going on? I learned even the president asked that, is it not about time that these people finish?
Restricted and degraded.
No, finish totally self. The way they are keeping them.
If you know the number of commanders that are said to have been killed.
And they are foot soldiers. The more you kill them, the more they recruit people, because there are people to recruit. They will find, with grinding poverty all over the place, they will find people. They will tell you, for so long, even in Baga, they will allow people to fish. But you must give them their own destiny. Where you fail to give them, they may take your life. That is their own. So now, on the highways, even now in Yobe State, they are beginning to kidnap people. If you observe the last 2-3 weeks, there has been a rise in kidnapping on along Buniyadi to Biu. That's the alternative road that people would love to take instead of going through Damboa. If you are going through Damboa to Biu, that means you have signed your death warrant. So people would rather go through a long, tortuous journey through Yobe State to Biu. You could be doing like 4 hours for a journey that is not more than 1 hour, just to stay alive. But now they are kidnapping people on that road. There's a video that came out of even of workers, NGO workers and other people that they kidnapped on the road. So these are the kind of people, they stop vehicles, they kidnap people, they ask you to pay them. They are behaving more or less like bandits too. Just simply grab people, collect money from them and let them go. So it's a good thing that the Air Force is having this kind of justice to them. Wherever you see them gather, just let the missiles come for them. That's the best thing to do.
I was told that there's a committee led by the Vice President. This committee is in charge of boundaries, border communities, and they have even allocation given to them to take care of these communities. Because what Jide is saying, the effect of what Jide is saying now is that, look, is because these people, the absence of government presence in these areas, they are poor, they are dejected, no hope, no motor roads, no school, nothing. So if it's the terrorists that will reach out to them first, they will believe those ones and they'll be indoctrinated.
We hear of committees, but the reality is what we have just seen. Boko Haram has changed its strategy. Boko Haram was not for bombing, suicide bombings, and all of that. Boko Haram is now trying to get the love of the people, and that's what we have seen here. Now, it will be very, very, very easy to recruit these ones to recruit them, indoctrinate them. In Niger State, they said that they cited ISWAP presence in some places, and people were withdrawing their children. They are convincing, Boko Haram is convincing people to withdraw their children from school. They are selling their ideology.
Western education.
Is Haram, or is Haram, it's an abomination. They are convincing parents to withdraw their children from school. So now they are not only using force. They have learned to use the heart of persuasion, the heart of conviction. Exactly.
So they are even showing up for Jumat prayers now.
Exactly.
In Niger State, so come for Jumat prayers, and preach to people.
There was someone who said Boko Haram gave him loan for his fashion business or something.
No, they give out loans. Yes. Actually, even in Adamawa,
exactly,
in the Madagali area, they will give you loan.
That person will worship.
But if you can't pay back, they will then conscript you to fight for them.
That person will worship Boko Haram. You can't be lying. The worst kind of deception is self-deception. When you deceive yourself and you say, look, they are not controlling territories. Apparently, we have seen it.
Even the governor of Niger State has mentioned the local governments that Boko Haram controls in the state. He has said it not once, not twice.
So the thing is, let's find a way of dealing with them. Like, I so much like what happened with this the tax collectors that were dealt with. Let's have more of that. Let's get rid of these people. It's going to be it's a long battle, it's a long war, but we must continue to fight it.
Because ultimately, when we are looking at the military, in terms of the successes and everything we recorded against Boko Haram for some time, we thought it was time to just give the killer punch to cut the head of this organization. We killed some leaders, some ISWAP leaders, and why did you allow them?
When you kill leaders, they are a very organized group. When this one dies, the other person takes over. You cannot, just that the Americans have failed to put an end to Al-Qaeda by killing its leaders. Before you kill someone, they already have in mind the person who will take over from that person. So simply killing their leaders will not bring an end to the group. And don't forget, this thing is dogma. They believe that what they are doing is right and they will go to heaven. So they are prepared to kill to get to heaven. Whereas none of them has been there before to know that that is the condition that must be met before one can get to heaven.
But it's a conviction. It's a belief.
This is the thing. We have to do much more. As I've always warned, every time it appears that there is a lull, don't think that the battle has been won. They may be planning something big, something sinister. And even the bandits too are looking like that now. They can fail to operate for some time. You start thinking, oh, we are winning the war. Don't jubilate too early, because at the point when you are jubilating, you just see that they have done something very terrible. And then that is what you'll be talking about for so long. The enemy is stubborn, the enemy is resilient. We also have to match the enemy in terms of our resilience, in terms of our determination. Because, as Bob Marley said, we should believe in the ultimate triumph of good over evil. So that is the thing. Our soldiers must remain resolute. The strategy has to be right. We can't keep waiting for them to come and attack us, because that's what happens. Even what happened in Askira Uba, we waited for them to bring the attack to us. No, we've got to do a lot more of clearance operations along the routes where we know they are present. Let's have clearance operations, take them out, continue the military, the air campaign, while the surface troops take over wherever we have eliminated them. That's the only way. And I've said before, if you remember, that to win this kind of insurgency war, you must outnumber the enemy by ratio 5-to-1. If you can't outnumber the enemy by ratio 5-to-1, today you capture this place because you don't have enough troops. You refuse to hold that ground. Once you don't hold it, if they find that place of value, they will come back there. That's what happens. There are places that this Nigerian army has captured at least 3 times. Different places like that. So you just where these guys are back here, because we don't have enough troops to simply put in every place that we capture from the enemy. The army is stretched. Look at Sokoto, look at Zamfara, look at even the southeast. Kaduna, we are pouring soldiers everywhere. Where are we going to have enough troops to man the northeast? They too are aware. Remember the day where IPOP was boasting the other day that Nigeria has not got enough soldiers to defeat IPOP, because they think the army is stretched already. And you must outnumber these people thoroughly. Decimate them, take over that place, keep your people there. If we can do that, and we become offensive rather than a defensive force, the end of Boko Haram is just, it's not going to be long.
We've not been hearing lately about the activities of civilian JTF. I don't know what is going on with those ones. Now, of course, the truth of the matter is we don't have enough troops, but you can work with the local population, in terms of intelligence gathering before the attacks happen. They can help you give information that can help you forestall some of those things. So what is happening to civilian JTF?
They are still active.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, in Borno State,
we haven't heard so much about them.
No, you see, they are not meant to take the shine of the army.
Definitely. Yes.
Those guys, where you see the army at a location, civilian JTF goes to check vehicles, and they know these boys more than anybody. They've lived with them.
Exactly.
Remember, it was civilian JTF that chased Boko Haram out of Maiduguri town. They chased them into the bush. So they are still active. There are times too when we lose troops and we lose civilian JTF as well. Sometimes it's announced that, okay, civilian. So they are very much committed, and the governor is motivating them. So they are very much part of the war.
All right. And finally, established on the 16th of February 2011 by former President Goodluck Jonathan, the Federal University Lokoja has grown in leaps in terms of academic and infrastructure development. After overcoming its teething problems upon establishment, the university has developed some infrastructure at its permanent sites in Felele area of Lokoja, Kogi State. Yes. One of such is the state-of-the-art hostels for students. Unfortunately, the institutions can't use them because of insecurity. In this journalist hangout weekend special, Babajide Kolade Otitoju was at the university to find out why the hostels are yet to be allocated to students for their use. Let's share the story with you.
The Federal University, Lokoja, Kogi State, was one of the 9 universities established by the administration of Dr. Goodluck Jonathan in 2011.
Our country has equally done well.
Having operated solely from its Adankolo campus, located behind the specialist hospital in Lokoja for years, it was the considered opinion of the management of the institution that the permanent site at Felele, Lokoja, provides tremendous opportunities for further growth given its vast space at 1,250 hectares, and therefore the management felt the need to relocate to the permanent site. Indeed, the Adankolo campus could no longer accommodate more infrastructure, especially for newly established faculties and programs. On October the 5th, 2020, the university management team moved their offices to the Felele campus, having announced the desire to relocate during the 3rd and 4th combined convocation ceremonies held on Saturday, the 14th of December 2019. While the Faculty of Science remains at the Adankolo campus, the faculties of Arts, Social Sciences, Management Sciences, and Education moved to the Felele campus, already home to some eye-catching infrastructure, including TED Fund-funded interventions. The university sits on a huge expanse of land, literally surrounded by hills. The forest within which the school is located stretches as far as the eyes can see. Of all the problems on the plate of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olaemi Akewumi, the biggest is security. He recently engaged 60 hunters to complement the efforts of the police and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, in providing security on campus. Recently, I visited the Federal University, Lokoja main campus. The Vice Chancellor highlighted the big problem of banditry on school campuses and noted that though the school has hostels for its students, it will not move students to the hostels until it is safe to do so.
The temporary site can no longer contain us. We have new programs that we have started, and accreditation, resource verification will soon take place, and without classrooms or lecture offices, it's not likely we pass the accreditation and resource verification, and the permanent site is here. So what we have done is to move a student here, but taking into consideration the situation in the country, the insecurity, we cannot afford to bring our student, we cannot afford to accommodate our student here, and that is why we only operate in the academic side. Lecture starts by 7 or 8 a.m. and by 5 p.m. everybody leaves the campus because of the insecurity, and that is why you can see this accommodation, these massive buildings empty, cannot accommodate them. Yeah, but we have the intention to move in as soon as we are sure of the security. We need security presence here. And one thing you notice without even telling you is that we have about 1,200 hectares, no parameter fencing, and things are just like that. We need military presence here before we can accommodate our students here. You can see how porous this place.
Yes, I can see beautiful landscape.
Beautiful landscape, but it's very dangerous. That taking into consideration the insecurity in the country today. So I will continue to operate from the academic side of the permanent side until we are sure of the security situation in the country. We have spoken to civil defense, the police. We went as far as the military, naval station there, and it's still the same thing. Nothing positive.
So you have no concrete assurance?
No concrete assurance, with the exception of the civil defense that came here all the way from Abuja to do feasibility studies. They give us some conditions. We need to provide some e-locks vehicles, things like that, and the university is not buoyant to be able to produce some of these things. That's why we are still on the stage. The police said manpower, they have manpower problem. They cannot, or they will not be able to do what we request from them now. So this is the situation, and until it improves, we will not allow our students to. We on our own too. We have tried to even bring in hunters. They just left Sunday morning. They came and do surveillance. About 50 of them, 60 of them did surveillance to see possible areas where the kidnappers can hide or the bandit can come. They came, and the next stage is we have to look for money to engage them. And I think that's another option that is before us now. But how many of them can we engage, taking into consideration the shortfall of fund in the country? The issue of IPPIS is there. You cannot employ, except you can employ, but they will not capture you. So the money is not there.
He took me around the male hostel, a beautiful structure uninhabited over the years because it was simply unsafe to put students in them.
The wardrobes are in place. It's just for security to be provided so that the students can take possession of their hostels.
The school has no perimeter wall around it, making it wide open. Amidst this prevailing insecurity around the country and the fact that there is no supply of public electricity, lectures end at 5 p.m. at the Federal University, Lokoja, to enable students and staff to leave the campus before it gets dark. The students who spoke with me said they would like to live on campus, given that the school is located far away from their homes, but would want security to be beefed up on campus before that happens.
The only thing I would say is that they should provide security, and once there is security and the hostel is being cleared, there will be a lot. People will be able to use it, and at least it will reduce the strength of a lot of people and accommodation. People having accommodation problem in towns, and it will reduce the stress and the costs also. Yes, to ensure my reading, I will be very close to class and so on.
Okay, I would advise governments to recruit paramilitary officers like civil defense and soldiers to protect and also to oversee the affairs of the hostel, of the activities of the hostel, and they should also ensure security in the hostel. I live in Zango. It costs 150, 300. That's go and come to and fro.
I want the government to come to the aid of the students. I want the government to build walls, to build fences around the school, and that will make the school more convenient for students to come receive lectures. So that's what I want the government to do, and as well as to bring in more buses for the students, because it's not really easy coming to school and then going back home. Most times you have to stay by the roadside for hours, and sometimes lectures finishes by 4 p.m. but sometimes students even stay up to 7, and this place is not that conducive for students. So I would want the government to come to our aid by bringing buses, making buses available for us. what I mean is, okay, first of all, we don't even have light here. I mean, that also is another factor. We don't have enough buses that will transport students from where they are coming from. For example, I'm coming from Adankolo, and that place is a very far place, and sometimes we do not see transportations that will take us to and fro.
Most times when we want to go, we are scared of the Fulani inhabitants there. Yes, there's rumor that they are Fulani, so you cannot cross over to the hostel because they are there, residing there. And first of all, the most scary thing about this place are the bushes. So I think they should first of all clear the bushes, then manually, then security, of course. The school is yet to be fenced. That should be taken seriously, and we can have. One thing again is that if we don't move to the hostel, there is no possibility of having tight security. So part of the what would bring about development is we moving to the hostel.
So the factor they should stop that and also put security agencies there for the safety of the students, and also the road they should put speed bumps and the rest.
Structure there is quite okay for students, but there are so many things that need to be put on ground before it will be okay to accommodate the student right now, because there are poor network of road linking the school down to the hostel, plus security, and you know security is very important at this stage in this part of the country where we have issues of kidnapping, ranging from kidnapping and robbing, and so you can't just jeopardize the effort being put in place by the state government in the securing of lives and property of the people by putting the students in such an unhospitable condition right now. Yes, actually, it's something the present VC talked about, and he has promised that he's still working in hand with the appropriate authority, of which they guarantee us that with time, those measures will be put in place for conducive learning for the students.
Check the facilities in there, and it's quite all right. Just need to put one or two things in place so that the student can start living there. The last time I checked, there was no generator, no power supply there, and the fence, there was no fence, because when I climbed up, I saw some persons, cattle areas around the place, and all of that bushes around. So I stay at Adankolo, that is the former campus, and from here to this place I spend up to 300 to 400 sometimes, but if I follow the school bus, the subsidized is going and coming is 200. So
one thing is clear: the Federal University Lokoja needs massive injection of funds over a long period to enable it provide not just adequate security for its staff and students, but to secure the infrastructure on site against vandalism and outright theft. Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Felele, Lokoja, Kogi State.
A very big irony there. This Federal University, Lokoja. We've seen universities that their biggest problem is infrastructure. Right now, they have hostels, they have dormitories, they have kitchens, they have a lot of things. But because of insecurity, they cannot utilize these infrastructures.
It's very sad. You know, it just reminds me of what Yoruba would say, we call that the child of a meat monger feeding on bones, the child of a clothes dealer, wearing rags. That's what it is. They look at the hardship that these young ones have to go through to get to school. They cannot concentrate. But
everything to make it university a very good
they
university.
Everything there. It's very sad.
Kitchen, everything.
But then I was thinking, how would it look like if these ones we saw were kidnapped? If they were on campus, they were resident on campus, and bandits came around and kidnapped them. There's nothing that can be done until things change. The VC in that interview said they got 60 hunters to complement the efforts of the police. And
it's 5 p.m.
And I was thinking, hunters with damn guns, but that is the best they can do in that circumstance. They say that when the desirable is not available, the available becomes the desirable. That is the best they can do. Again, it's part of our tragic story in this country. When we went to school, school was fun. We didn't have, our hearts were not in our mouths. You know, we went to school, we stayed on campus, we came back, you know, and nothing happened to us. No bandits were not attacking schools. Kidnappers were there. People attended schools in the north. They attended ABU schools in the north. Exactly. And Unimade, and nothing was happening. There are schools located in bushy areas.
That's the normal location of any schools. The expanse of land.
Even secondary schools, boarding schools. There are boarding schools located in bushy areas, and then children go to school, they come back. It used to be fun, and that's how it should be. But now, this is what we are having. It's so sad. Security.
If you look at the University of Ilorin, if you look at FUTA, if you look at all this OAU, UI, you will see the vast expanse of land they are occupying. And because Nigeria was safe by the time these universities were built, we don't have this condition. But reverse is the case here.
Yes, and it's painful. I really pity those children, because there's nothing as good as everybody being in the same place, you know, with the lecturers having their own quarters, within the staff quarters within the school, you know, and even there are some of the structures within the campus that some people have vandalized.
Yes.
You know, because they are in the bush, you know, and a bit far from the academic area. You know, so I long for that day when the Federal University Lokoja can actually bring its students to that beautiful hostel that I saw. The one I entered was the male hostel. The female hostel is built in the same way, but I know the toilets could be different, you know. Everything that you want to see in an hostel, the SUB, the common room, you know, all of those things provided, and with modern facilities, but it's risky to bring those students to stay on campus. And I sympathize with the VC. As much as he will want to do that, he also knows that those children are in his care, and there's no lights, and he will not want to do anything. For now there's no public electricity, you know, so the school, you know, they relocated to the school, to that campus not long ago. They were operating in the heart of Lokoja, in Adankolo, which is in the heart of Lokoja. That will not contain them. This is now, just as the VC said, some of their courses needed accreditation. So in order to achieve that, they needed to come here so that they can avail themselves of the structures in place, because TED Fund had done a good job of helping them provide infrastructure. But look, just look at, see the landscape. Somebody told me that once you climb that mountain, that you are somewhere in Kotonkarufi, so far away. So you can imagine. So nobody wants, and there are some people who encroach even on that land. You see footpaths, illegal footpaths into the campus. All of this remind you that, look, don't take a risk. If you bring those students in without a perimeter fence around the school, the Federal Ministry of Education must also help them, because to put a perimeter fence around 1,200 hectares is massive, is a lot of money, you know, so they need to help them to construct that perimeter fence. You know, that was the problem they had in Unimedo.
Yes.
And Governor Kashim Shettima had to even start when Boko Haram entered the university and killed one of their most respected professors.
Look at Charles. Look at.
So what we took for granted, yes, now what we took for granted, what we took for granted before Boko Haram and all these criminals have now shown us that you cannot take them for granted.
Security is everything.
Entering unit in broad daylight to kill people because no wall. And the back of Unimate is actually Sambisa.
Oh.
Yes, through the Konduga area.
Oh.
So they came and killed people.
And
that sort of thing can happen.
To be very, very peaceful.
Yes, but a lot of things have changed.
Very neat.
All that it takes now is that security. Provide the security, build a perimeter wall, a high wall. People don't want soldiers on campus. You know, students resisted since the Ali must go era. Students have been saying no, we don't want. But under the present agreement, students will be happy to have soldiers protect them.
Honestly, so deep inside
because how do you do it? Such a place.
Paul Dada, thank you for your contribution today.
Welcome.
Thank you. And Babajide Kolade Otitoju, thank you for your contribution today. And that's our offering on Journalist Standout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for our regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30 p.m. And we're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Osubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.